Tests and trials in my life. Sometimes I thought I wouldn't make it. God stepped in and turned things around. My test became my testimony to tell. I'm a living testimony that God, He won't fail. Specialized in the impossible, and does all things well. There were times when I felt like I couldn't go on. Then God stepped in.
Bringing me this far, I'll let nothing separate me from your love so true. This love is so real. Death nor height nor principality can separate me from the one that I love. Oh, we've been together through the good and the bad. You've been the best friend that I've ever had. You held my hand when I couldn't hold on. You've been right there, oh so wondrously strong. I'll let nothing can keep me away from.
There we go. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Oh, I'm sorry, Newport Ricky, but we're going to call you back. All right, good evening. They don't know what time it is. It is Teaching Tuesday time. Hey, everybody. I hope that you had an absolutely fantastic long weekend. I hope you had a long weekend. If you had to go to work, I'm so sorry. Dr. King does still have a dream. All right. So welcome to Teaching Tuesday. My name is Naika Taylor, and I am the pastor of Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church, located in the metropolis of Brooksville, Florida, where we learn, we live, we love, while being real, relevant, and relatable. And I say that, and I'm going to actually kind of get into the study, I think, a little quick tonight. But for the parade, the announcer just kind of came up to me and was like, "Hey, Pastor Taylor, what do you want said when you hold on, am I showing this? I am showing this. I don't want to show that yet. Okay. What do you want said when you go around?" And I said, "Oh, nothing." And then I said, "Oh, wait, I wanted to say that Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church, where we learn, we live, we love, while being real, relevant, and relatable." And she was like, "Okay." I said, "I know. I just said I didn't want anything, and then I gave you like all this stuff to say." And she was like, "No, I like that." So it's not just a slogan, guys. It is really something that I believe and that I put out everywhere, not just on Teaching Tuesday or on Sunday morning. All right, I think I got my stuff all set up now. I am going to start. Good evening, family. Someone just told me you guys were behind us in the float. I didn't even realize it. Oh, I'm shiny. Good evening. Hey, Miss Sherry, I'm praying for your mother. I heard that you're back taking care of her. So she's been lifted up in prayer during this fasting time and this fasting season. All right. A couple of announcements. Let me do that. And then we're going to pray and do all that good stuff. Okay. So listen, if you are from the local community and local area, you guys probably saw this pop up when I was getting everything together. Um, February 1st at 3 o'clock. It's a Saturday at 3 o'clock at Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church Fellowship Hall. Free admission. Come out as we celebrate February 1st, the first day of Black History Month. The Carter G. Woodson Award is going to be presented to Ruth Lee Black, our very own Ruth Lee Black, who, if you must live under a rock if you don't know who Ruth is within our communities, whether it's the Dade City community or the Brooksville or Spring Lake or Spring Hill. She's everywhere. She is a dynamic woman of God. And so we want to help honor her. And so that's going to be February 1st at 3 o'clock in the Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church Fellowship Hall. All right. I wanted to make sure we got that announcement out. And then, oh, guys, I don't know what God's doing with you in this fast, but he's been working on me. He's been working on me. I have to say that this has been the, and I know that they say, when you're fast, you're not supposed to tell people. And I think that's sometimes taken out of context. You're not supposed to be, oh, woe is me, to get attention. But this I will share with you because I think somebody needs to hear that even as the pastor and someone who has been fasting for quite a long time. And understand the benefits and rewards of it. This one has been difficult. I haven't broken it, but it's been difficult not to. And so I want you to know that I'm in there with you. We in this fight together, and let's keep fighting together. Good evening, Barbara. I missed you on Sunday. Good evening. I missed you. And then don't forget, guys, the book, the devotion book. And I don't know if I posted on Facebook today or not. Okay, y'all, it's been raining here all day today, and it's still raining. So me and the kids was trying to run, so we got some issues, but we're going to fix Becky tomorrow. Today was Proverbs 4:7-9. And it was embrace. I had to write on here, my God, guys, this is day 17 and this is the date. So please go out and read them. Tomorrow, today was the last day of embrace. Okay. And tomorrow we will begin pressing. This is probably my most favorite part of the devotional. Last but not least, because this is just funny and this is just your pastor. Y'all pray for your pastor. So I was reading one of my mom's Facebook posts the other day and I was like, oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. And she, she was talking about how the crowd is going to be loud and how we have to make a decision whether we are going to follow the crowd or whether we're going to be at the foot of the cross. And I was like, oh, Mom, that's good. Really, I'm saying this to myself. I'm like, oh, this is so good. And then I get to the bottom and it was my quote. I hollered at myself, guys. I laughed. I was like, oh, that's so good. That sounds familiar. I just laughed. Good evening. Speaking of the angel, good evening. All right, guys. I think that's it for my announcements. Let me see the fast. Yeah. And then I think that's it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We had 2 questions left from last week. I want to do those 2 questions from last week, and then we are going to go into 8 through 24. I'm not sure how far we're going to get, but I do have notes for 8 through 24, so we're going to go through those, and then hopefully next week. If not, right, there's no time limit on Teachings Tuesday. You guys are going to start looking at your watch. I got an hour. I do my hour. We're done. We pick up where we left off. Okay. Um, there's something else that just popped in my mind that I was going to share, but I'm going to let it go. Okay, so the last two questions we had from last week were, who were the stones to be assigned for? Your principalities. Okay, who were the stones supposed to be assigned for, and why? We're going to talk about this just a little bit more later, but who were the stones supposed to be assigned for, and why? Well, they were supposed to be assigned for the future generations, right? To come, so that they wouldn't forget. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I'm going to talk more about that in the upcoming chapters that we're getting ready to look at. So make sure that you are planning for the future. All right. I wanted to get that out of there. Plan for the future. We're going to talk more about that. And then Joshua 4:7. I wanted us to look at that verse 4:7. And when were the waters cut off? Somebody. Verse 4:7. Tell me, when were the waters cut off? Verse 4:7. Let me make sure you guys are engaged tonight, because I know I said you guys can just listen while you're doing other stuff, but that don't mean all of y'all can just listen while you're doing other stuff. So verse 4, come on, chapter 4 and verse 7. When were the waters cut off? We actually talked about this. I'm actually pulling out my notes. We actually talked about this a little while ago. When were the waters cut off? Anybody? Bueller? No. Immediately. Thank you, Angela. Immediately when foot hit the edge, right? They were at the edge. But then, okay, I'm going to have to go back on you guys. I'm going to have to go back. Let me, the edge of the Jordan. But let me go back. See, I tried to skip, because I was like, let me try to not read the whole thing. Okay, but you guys are going to make me go back. 4:7. Here we go. Let me present this. Let me go. Okay, here we go. Oh, come on, Lorette. Lorette said, don't sleep on me. Look at 4 verse 7. Then you shall tell them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it passed over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. So these stones shall be to the people of Israel a memorial forever. This is so important. Now, Angela, you are correct in that when we talked about it very deeply, I believe it was in chapter 3, when we talked about how the priest had to first get into the water before the water started receding. And we talked about how that can be a symbol for us, that sometimes we got to actually, let me put this down. I'm not going to stay here long. That sometimes we have to actually get into some stuff before we actually see God move in our lives. And so we talked about that. If you missed that, you'll have to go back, because I don't want to prolong study going back over reviewing. But with that being said, let me put this back up there. Then you shall tell them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord, when it passed over the Jordan. The waters of the Jordan were cut off. Guys, when you allow the presence of the Lord, nothing happened until the presence of the Lord passed by. Okay? Now, even when the priest stepped in, remember, they were carrying the ark of the But God wanted the children of Israel to put as a reminder and wanted the story that they told their children and children's children. And later in later verses, it says for generations, right? Tell them that the ark, when that the Jordan River, the waters of the Jordan River were cut off when the ark of the covenant passed, when the presence of God passed by. We can do nothing until the presence of God passes by. All kind of things can be wanted, but until we allow the presence of the Lord to pass. Now, you might have to first step in and get wet, but we're going to talk about that. The leaders, right, had to first step in and get wet and go through some things. But you must make sure that the presence of the Lord, that's what he says. That's what he says in his word. Tell them that the waters were cut off before the ark of the covenant. When it passed over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. Right? And this was to be a memorial for the children of Israel. So I wanted to go through those, and then I think those were the last two. And then the stones represented a memorial. All right, that is where we are tonight. So here's what I'm going to do tonight. We are going to read 8 through 24. Let me just read 8 through 24, and then what I did for tonight is I broke it up into the different verses, and so we won't have to go back. And I think once I show you, you'll see what I mean. All right, so let me read that. Okay. Joshua 8 through 24. And the people of Israel did just as Joshua commanded and took up 12 stones out of the midst of the Jordan, according to the number of the tribes of the people of Israel, just as the Lord told Joshua. And they carried them over. Let me make sure you guys got this. Yeah. And they carried them over with them to the place where they lodged and laid them down there. The people passed over in haste. And Joshua set up 12 stones in the midst of the Jordan, in the place where the feet of the priests bearing the ark of the covenant had stood, and they are there to this day. For the priests bearing the ark stood in the midst of the Jordan until everything was finished, that the Lord commanded Joshua to tell the people, according to all that Moses had commanded Joshua. The people passed over in haste. And when all the people had finished passing over, the ark of the Lord and the priests passed over before the people. The sons of Reuben and the sons of Gad and the half tribe of Manasseh passed over armed before the people of Israel, as Moses had told them. About 40,000 ready for war passed over before the Lord for the battle to the plains of Jericho. On that day, the Lord exalted Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they stood in awe of him, just as they had stood in awe of Moses all the days of his life. And the Lord said to Joshua, command the priests bearing the ark of the testimony to come out of the Jordan. So Joshua commanded the priests, come out of the Jordan. And when the priests bearing the ark of the covenant of the Lord came up from the midst of the Jordan, and the soles of the priests' feet were lifted up on dry ground, the waters of the Jordan returned to their place and overflowed all its banks as before. The people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month, and they encamped in Gilgal on the east border of Jericho. And those 12 stones which they took out of the Jordan, Joshua set up at Gilgal. And he said to the people of Israel, when your children ask their fathers in times to come, what do these stones mean? Then you shall let your children know Israel passed over this Jordan on dry ground. For the Lord your God dried up the waters of the Jordan for you until you passed over, as the Lord your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up for us until we passed over, so that all the people of the earth may know that the hand of the Lord is mighty, that you may fear the Lord your God forever. All right. All right. Don't forget. Don't forget. The concept of remembering is very important. I'm going to need my notes to keep me on track. All right. The concept of remembering is very, very important. The Bible, important in the Bible, God repeatedly tells it many times. He repeats it in his covenant. He reminds his people that of what he's done for them. The same lessons and principles are taught again and again. The reason is simple, guys. We forget. We forget. The reason God is constantly reminding us, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. The reason he's constantly reminding us is because we constantly forget. Good evening. And so he tells the children of Israel to remember. Not only do you need to remember, but you need to make sure your children's children remember. You need to make sure that generations upon generations remember, because there is death in forgetting. If you don't forget what got you in to a situation in the first place, then you're going to find yourself back in that situation, right? And this isn't a party speech or a political speech, but not only with men and women of God, right? But one of the fallacies of forgetting is that, at least in America, there were times, right, in the 1800s, where 1800s and early 1900s, where we had Black congressmen and Black representatives, where there was this right to vote that was never sequestered or denied. And because we forgot that we had those rights, now we're trying to hold on. We had to first regain something that we already had, and now we're attempting to hold on to something because we forgot that we already had that, and then we allowed it to be taken away. Not a political speech. It just shows how when you forget, and especially when it comes to things of God, because this life is so full of ups and downs. If when you're down, you forgot what God did for you when you were up, then it allows the enemy to come in and spiritually keep you down. And God does not desire that. And so we must we must remember the good and the bad. And so God desires for us to forget. Look, there's several reasons, right? I don't know about you, but I can walk in a room and I really I'm really praying about it, because it seems to be getting worse and worse. I will open an app on my phone and forget why I opened the app. I will walk in a room and forget why I came in that room. I will pick up my pen and forget what I was getting ready to write down. Now, part of that is because I have this mind that's always going and it just never shuts off. And so I forget. Okay. But when it comes to things of God, there are several reasons why we forget. So let me put that up here. All right. Why do we forget? We forget because we do not value something enough. We forget because we don't make the proper effort to remember. That's where I want to pause right there. Sometimes, guys, we forget because we okay, for some reason my mic all decided to mute all of a sudden. Okay. So we forget because we don't make the effort to remember, or we forget because we don't value something enough. Um, Here in Joshua, the people were given specific steps to make sure they did not forget what God has done for them. So here's my question for you. What question? What steps do you take? What do you do to make sure you don't forget? what steps do you take to make sure you don't forget the goodness of the Lord and all that He's done for you? Good evening, Angela. What do you do? Do you journal? I'm always talking about writing, right? We should be writing things down. Um, do you take pictures? Do you catalog the things that God has done by taking a picture? Write things down. That I totally agree with that one. I was sharing with someone just recently about that we were talking about the fires last week. That we were talking about the fires in California, and I said I would be so devastated if I had to lose my journal. Now, would I survive? Yes, but I'd be so heartbroken because there are just things written down um, that I want to hold on to. Everything else, um, you know, can be replaced, but those can't be replaced. So write it down. Write it. Thank you. Miss Cherie said the same thing. Write it down. Um, you can put it in your notes, put it in the cloud. I still like good old fashioned just writing it down. All right. So make sure you do something so that you don't forget what God has done for you. Okay. Now, we're going to go into Joshua 4, and I'm going to do 10, and then I'm going to skip down to 16 and 17. And I think once you see it, you'll see why. Okay. So let's talk about leadership for a little bit. It's difficult. Sorry, that's not up there. All right. We're going to talk about leadership for a little bit. It's difficult sometimes um, to talk about leadership with a class. Let me put this down for a second. To talk about leadership with a class, because sometimes you guys don't see yourselves as leaders just because in this setting you may not be the pastor, or in this setting you may not be, the deacon or the trustee within the church body. But I guarantee you, everyone on this Bible study tonight has some type of leadership role, whether it's within your family, whether it's within your workplace, whether it's within your church. You have everybody has some type of leadership roles, okay? Mentorship roles. People look up to you. And so let's talk about being a good leader, not only in the confines of Joshua and his leadership, or the priest and their leadership, um, directing someone to Christ's leadership. Absolutely. Directing someone to Christ's leadership. And that's actually going to be one of our questions later. So I should have probably saved that. Um, so let's look at it. One of the things that I really try to do on Tuesdays, while being real relevant and relatable, is to tie the Word of God into our everyday lives, because it can't be a separate entity than what we live. So here we go, guys. 10a and 16 and 17 says, "For the priest bearing the ark stood in the midst of the Jordan until everything was finished, that the Lord commanded Joshua to tell the people, according to all that Moses had commanded. Command the priest bearing the ark of the testimony to come up out of the Jordan." So Joshua commanded the priest come up out of the Jordan. Are you a good leader is the question here, because I want you guys to notice. Here's what I wrote in my note. Notice that the leaders were the first to go in and the last to come out. This is why I love Teaching Tuesday. This is why I love Teaching Tuesday. Because of this. The priests, the leaders. Now I'm going to say the priest, but when I say priest, I want you to say leaders, okay? The priests or the leaders were the first ones to go in to the overflowing river, and they were the last to come out. A leader is someone who trusts God in the beginning, in the middle, all the way through until the end. A leader is the first one to try God. Okay, I'm gonna keep it church, and then I'm gonna bring it back. Okay, I can't tell you you need to fast and pray. I don't fast. I can't tell you that you need to be prepared for Teaching Tuesday, and I'm not prepared for Teaching Tuesday. I can't tell you to come into the house of God and be ready to worship, and I'm not ready to worship. A good leader leads their people by example. Now, I'm not saying a perfect leader, because God, y'all know, y'all know me, okay? Not perfect. But if you are going to be willing to lead someone, you must be willing to do the work. Maybe that's what I should say. Be willing to do the work. You can't be a productive employee. No, no, no. Let me go back to that directing someone to Christ. You can't direct someone to Christ if you're not following Christ. Can I get an amen? You can't talk about someone trying to or living right and you're not trying to. We have to be an example. And so God allowed the priestly people, the ones who were supposed to bear his presence. Can I go here real quick? The ones that were supposed to be in his parents' presence, the ones who were supposed to carry his presence, the ones who were supposed to be the performers of the sacrifice. He said, "Those of you, let me bring it home today. Those of you who claim to be so holy, those are the ones I want to see who trust me first. Will you trust me first? Will you go in there first? And not only will you go in there first, but then will you stand there trusting me until everybody gets through? Good leaders, the first to show and the last to leave, when possible." Okay. Y'all know I got to bring it back. Bring it back. Amen. Amen. A good leader is servant leadership. Um, I love my Deacon Imani Asikili, but a few Sundays ago, I don't even know when it was, but a few Sundays ago, I had the broom and I was sweeping up something. He said, "Oh, now you could be our pastor. Now you done got a broom. You could be our pastor." I want to hit him with that broom. No, I'm joking. All right. Um, so leadership. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back to 4 and 12. So I kind of skipped to, that's why I said it will make sense once I show it to you. So I did 4, 10, 16, and 17. All right. And now I'm going to go back to 12. So I want to see how many of you guys were paying attention. Verse 12 says, "The sons of Reuben and the sons of Gad and half the tribe of Manasseh passed over armed before the people of Israel, and armed before the people of Israel, as Moses had told them." Where is, I know I have on there, "Do you keep your promises?" But where was the other half of the tribe of Manasseh? Okay? Because this is about keeping promises. Do you remember where the other half of the tribe of Manasseh was? Why did only half of the tribe of Manasseh go over to the river Jordan and into the promised land, into Jericho? Now I'm going to give you a little time to think about it, and I'm going to move on to the next question. Okay? I'm going to go to Joshua 4 and 14, but if you get it, I want to see it in the comments. I want to see if you guys are staying with me. Remember, the Bible, guys, is a precept study. It is precepts upon precepts. We don't learn something one day. It's like we don't learn something one day and then forget it the next. like the class that today we started a new. Uh, okay, I was gonna see that's my mind, right? So today we started new lessons and we were going from 1 blocks to 10 blocks. And it was the same concept as 1 blocks, but now you're counting by tens instead of ones, right? So, and I knew Lorette was going to put that up there. Okay, they were east of the Jordan River, but why? Why were they east of the Jordan River? Why did only half of the tribe? You are correct. They were east of the Jordan River, but why? Okay, so let's go to 14. Let's go to 14, and then I'll come back to 12 when I get an answer. Okay, so on the day that the Lord exalted Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they stood in awe of him on that day. They stood in awe of him just as they stood in awe of Moses all the days of their life. Here's the point for verse 14. Who exalts you? Guys, I want you to pay close attention to this. Look at this. It says, on that day, the Lord exalted Joshua. Now, it doesn't give us any information into what that exaltation looks like. It doesn't tell us exactly what God did or what the Lord did to exalt Joshua. But it says, on that day, the Lord exalted Joshua in the sight of all Israel. Oh, I need to talk to somebody. I need to talk to somebody. And I don't know if it's a societal thing. I don't know if it's an inner thing. I know it's a spiritual thing that I think has been exasperated by the like button, the follow button, the viewed button, or the viewed report. We love to be exalted by others. We love to be lifted up by others. We love to get accolades and light from others. Now, somebody saying, I don't care nothing about that. Yeah, everybody has something that we want people to recognize our goodness. We want people to recognize our accomplishments. It doesn't have to be this glory-filled recognition, but we like that. And to some point, that's okay. But if you are allowing others to exalt you and not looking for the exaltation from God, if you're not looking for God to say, well done, my good and faithful servant, that's what we should be looking for. And I love this that it says, and the Lord exalted Joshua. I wonder what that looked like. I wonder what that felt like. Can you just imagine? And not only did he exalt him, but the Bible says that he did it in front of the children of Israel. Oh, see, sometimes we go through these struggles in life and we're like, oh, God's going to exalt me. Yeah, okay. But can I be honest? I want God to exalt me in front of some people. I want an audience. Let me just, y'all might be too holy for this, but I want him to lift me up in front of me. I want my private conversations with God and my private time with God and my private tears and my private um, fears to be exalted. I want that. Some of us have been ridiculed publicly, so we want God to exalt. I had to get that off my chest. All right, I see some comments coming in over here. Let me see. Okay, so Lorette says that they're on the other side because the land was ideal for raising stock. Yes, they wanted to stay in the land of the Amorite to inherit the land. Ooh, okay. So only the mighty men of valor were allowed to go, but they were, yes, I feel like my students, yes, but there's more, okay? Because the land was better on the east side. Y'all know I got that song in my head, but I'm not going to sing it on the east side. Okay, yes to all of those, but remember, they made a promise. And they said to Joshua, if you will allow us to inherit this land on the east of the Jordan River, we will send our men or our men of valor, as some translations may say, or our men to go on the other side. We will fight for our brothers so that they get their promised land, but our inheritance will be over here. Okay. So if you don't remember that, we talked about that extensively, about how they some stayed. So half the tribe of Manasseh. So now when you see that, I want you to remember that. All right. That they stayed on the east, but they still kept their promise to go with their brothers and fight with their brothers and their sisters. Yes, and their sisters. Not every woman was just sitting back watching the kids. All right, 18. How much time I got? I'm gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna finish chapter 4. Okay. I'm trying to. I wasn't reading my notes. Let's see. He solidified Joshua's leadership and caused all the people to respect him. Okay. But I think I talked about that enough. 18. And when the priest bearing the ark of the covenant of the Lord came up from the midst of the Jordan, and the soles of the priest's feet were lifted up on dry ground, the waters of the Jordan returned to their place and overflowed all the bank. So there's two interpretations that we can take here. One is that this is saying that the people, when the priests put their feet were lifted up on dry ground, meaning they got out of the river Jordan and were now on the other side and were on dry ground. That is one interpretation. Another interpretation is that the dry ground indicates or signifies that the river bed, or the riverbed was dry, that God dried it, which most theologians believe is the correct interpretation, that he not only receded the waters, but that he dried the bottom of the river as well, the riverbed, because it would have been muddy, right? And so it having it dry allowed the people to cross over more smoothly. They had crossed on dry ground. This is what one theologian says. They had crossed on dry ground. God does complete miracles. Not only did he stop the waters, but he dried out the ground so the people didn't get stuck in the mud in the middle. He did not take half measures, and neither should we. All right. That's why I put that ain't no half stepping, right? Ain't no half stepping. Give it all you got. Give it all you got. Okay. I almost made it. I almost made it. You guys, I had several running through my head tonight. I almost made it. Okay. So when God does something, here's the point of this verse for us tonight. When God does something, he does it completely. He does it completely, which is why I think some people have not come to him yet because they understand. This is why some people are running, and I feel this in my spirit. This is nowhere in my notes. But I feel like some people are running because they know that when God gets them, that he is going to take them completely because there is no half stepping with God. Yeah. Charge it to my heart, please. Charge it to my head, not my heart. But Bailey, you can keep running. But when God does that thing, he's going to do it completely. Charge it to my head. I don't hide that I am a pastor, but I don't necessarily advertise it either. Right? Some people at work know I'm actually officiating a teacher's wedding in December. And partly, everybody knows I'm saved, but partly because there's this expectation that comes, right? I'm not crying. I didn't get through with the song, but I am gonna get through with no tears tonight. I'm gonna do it. Let me just tell you, he who began a good work in you is faithful, just, loyal, resilient, competent, ever loving, and he will complete it. He's gonna complete it. Charge it to my head, Lisa and Kim. You step in, you step out, double dutching with God. Give him all of you. I guarantee you, you will be that miracle. The party, let me tell y'all something. The parting of the River Jordan ain't got nothing on what he's done in my life. All right. That ain't even in my nose. Holy Ghost. Y'all was messing around with some teachers the other day. And I ain't gonna lie. I wasn't necessarily talking about somebody. I may have been saying something. Somebody had got on my nerves. And I was sitting there, and I'll be honest, so one of them is an atheist. Very nice lady. But she grew up in a Catholic school. She and I have had some great conversations. But we was talking, and somebody had got on my nerves. We was talking, and I went to say something. Actually, I said something, and it wasn't even anything really bad. It was the truth. But, just because you're speaking the truth don't always mean you need to say it, right? And I kid you not, I looked up and I was like, okay, Lord. I said, y'all, I got to go because I just got in trouble. And she looked at me and just laughed. So I'm going to stop talking because I'm in trouble. All right, last one, guys. Here we go. 23 and 24. For the Lord your God dried up the waters of the Jordan for you until you passed over, as the Lord your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up for us until we passed over, so that all the people of the earth may know that the hand of the Lord is mighty, and that you may fear the Lord your God forever. How do you spread the word? How do you spread the word? God did all this, right? So that you would know and fear him. And it says, so that all the people of the earth may know that the hand of the Lord is mighty. How do you spread his word? I don't want people to know my business. What? What? One of the most disheartening things, and I love my people, and my people, I can call. When I call, I love my people. First of all, they know if I call, I'm not just calling just to be calling. Or not like if I ask you to do something, I really need it done. Okay. Um, but I got disheartened twice. It's happened here recently. My people have been asked to give a testimony, and nobody. Now, there could be several reasons why, but let me tell you something. You ever get an opportunity to tell what God has done for you, don't you hesitate. Don't you waffle. Don't you misstep. Don't you falter. You tell somebody what God has done for you, what God is doing for you, what you want God to do for you. That's a real testimony. I'm praying for God about X, Y, and Z, and they may look at you crazy. Okay, but when that happens, oh, they gonna remember. They gonna remember. All right, they gonna remember. They might act like they didn't remember. I don't remember you saying that. Oh, you remember? Ah, I know you remember. Cause let me show you. I wrote it down in my journal. All right. Um, Make sure that you tell somebody God's blessings. Here's my notes. God's blessings are shown to each generation. Sometimes they are repeated in similar ways, like the parting of the Red Sea and the Jordan. And sometimes he shows us his blessings in completely new ways. His purpose was accomplished. He wanted all the people to know his might and fear God forever. How can you help others to know this as well? So, he might do something that he's done for your grandma or your dad or your mom or your aunties. He may do the same thing, but can I be honest with you? I am looking for God to do some new things. And let me tell you, if anybody love their grandmamas, I love my grandmamas. And I thank God for what he did in their lives. Did in their lives and is doing in their lives. My maternal grandmother has passed on to glory. My paternal grandmother is still alive and literally kicking, and fussing. um, and I've seen God do some marvelous things in the life of my family, in the life of my uncle. Um, but I want God to do something new. I want God to do something new in each and every one of your lives because he can, he wants to, he wants to show himself mighty in your life. I just need you to allow him to do so. Open up your heart, open up your mind, and see what God can do. As Minister Smith said, tell of the goodness of the Lord in your life. Just tell somebody. Um, just tell somebody and watch God move. All right. So we will pick up chapter 5 next week as we just continue on in the book of Joshua. If you, hey guys, wherever you are in the United States right now, we don't have any international viewers yet. So wherever you are in the United States right now, I need you to be warm. I need you to be safe. I need you to be careful. All right. As one of my children was saying, Mom, there's snow in Florida, right? The Panhandle got quite a bit of snow. And so I know wherever you are, it's cold. Now the degrees of cold differentiate between wherever we are, right? Those of us in Florida in these 30s and 40s and 50s, we're like, okay, it's not -15. Got it. It's not 23. Got it. But it's still cold. All right. So I want you guys to stay warm. I want you guys to continue to pray and lift up each other. I want you guys to continue to have the joy of the Lord. I want you guys to continue to seek his face in all that you say and do. And you guys know, meet us Sunday morning at 9:45. Listen, you people that have been watching online, come to the house. Come on in. Come on. Oh, you in the room? All right, come on in the house this Sunday. Come on back. We'd love to see you. 9:45. Sunday school starts at 9 o'clock. Only 30 minutes. Come on in, and we will see you guys Sunday. If I don't see you Sunday, I will see you next Tuesday right here, same time, same place. Remember to stay in his will and do it his way. Let me get this up. Be blessed. Good night.